evening, friends. Welcome back to Dozen Cats. Happy Wednesday to everybody. This is Achieving Wellness. Tonight we're talking about shadow work, and our wonderful guest is Hershey the Shadow Reader.
Hello, hello, hello.
And of course, Quincy is here.
Absolutely.
Because it wouldn't be right if he wasn't. So let's say hi to some folks. Kindness and Light is here.
Hi, Lisa.
Teresa is here. Pisces Greeter, that's Teresa, the best hugger on YouTube. Thomas Terryway is here. Akila is in the house.
Hello, hello, hello.
I can't see, darling. Ron is here. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Kristen is in the house. Hi, Kristen. Welcome back. Scorpio Mama is in the house.
Hello, 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 hello.
Samantha. Sin is here. And Linda is here. Yay.
Hello, everybody.
As I said, this is Hershey. I put her link in the chat box. Her link is also in the description box below the video. Do go show our new friend some love. She is just starting her channel out, and that support is greatly appreciated. So, as all new guests, we have to do our little 5 icebreaker questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Brace yourself. Buckle in. No, I'm kidding. They're harmless, I promise. Okay. You can't play with my crystals. Sorry, sweetheart. It's so unprofessional, but what can I tell you?
I'm okay with it.
So, question number 1. Would you say that you are an organized person, a disorganized person, or an organized, chaotic person?
I am totally controlled chaos.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Question number 2. Do you have a food or a meal that you associate with a particular time or tradition or people? Past, present, or maybe even in the future. That would be a feat, wouldn't it? Hi, Ben. Hi, Lady Soul.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if one food. I don't know. It sounds like a pretty complex question to my brain right now.
I'll help you out. I'll play along too. So pineapple upside down cake is something that my Nana would always make, and we got such a kick out of watching the theatrics of her flipping the cake upside down. Like, it seemed like it was a big deal when I was a little kid, right? And so I just remember being in the kitchen with her, watching her get ready to flip it and like the maneuvers, and we would all be like, oh, like waiting for it to like collapse on the floor in a million pieces, and probably hoping, no doubt, that it would, at some point. But she always pulled it off. And I just remember being in the kitchen at that moment, and she would feel so accomplished with all the grandkids watching her, and then it wouldn't fall apart. You know what I mean? And
right. No, I get it. I don't know. I don't think that I actually have that. I didn't have that kind of family environment, but I do have foods that represent places I've been and traveled and done.
One of those then.
So yeah, there's many then.
Okay. Do you have an example? Do you want to give us, or no? Is it too many?
I would say that soul food represents the country part of me, that the down home, the rhythm and blues, the soul, the bluegrass. I would say that Mediterranean and Chinese and pizza and Mexican represents growing up in the city for me.
Nice.
And then I have to say government food. I grew up in the system a lot. So like cheese, government powdered milk, government everything. I have that's a big staple in my life. So there's a wide variety.
I mean, it's interesting to me because I think a lot of us associate food with like either time periods or people, right?
Right. Yep.
And the whole idea of sharing a meal with others, right? And the emotions and the memories that then creates is always something that really is interesting to me, because you just never know, right?
Yep.
Never
Right.
know what someone else what someone else's thing is, and I love it.
Yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
our next question is fairly easy, I think.
Okay.
If you could choose, I'm going to give you some options here. Where would your ideal place to live be? Are you like a city person? Are you a mountain person? Are you a country person? Or are you like an ocean person?
I want to live somewhere where the Jetsons live.
Rosie
The
was my
cartoon, the
favorite.
Jetsons from way
Yeah.
back when. Like, I've
Yeah,
lived in the
Rosie the
country.
maid.
I've lived in by the water. I've lived in the country. I've lived in the city. I want to see that next level. I don't think I'll ever experience in this walk, but that sounds so phenomenally wonderful to me.
I used to love it when I watched the Jetsons, and the thing that I keep waiting for is, you know how Rosie would go to the menu and just like click on the button and like
Yeah, and everything was
I'm waiting for that invention to come
walk
out.
in
I
and
don't have
the
to stand
room
in front of the
announces you.
cupboards and think about what I'm going to make for dinner or lunch or breakfast, where I could just press the button and be like, "You're welcome." You know,
Absolutely. I'm so ready for that.
yeah, yeah, I'm totally ready for that. Hi, Cheyenne.
Hello.
So, okay, so that's 4 questions.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was easy.
So the 5th question is, where is your happy place, Hershey?
There is a spot that I can go to in my meditation, and I call it EC. It's just this wonderful. It's anything the imagination. I'm telling you, if anybody's ever seen the never-ending story, at the very ending there, where Fantasia is falling apart, and there's just this one little grain of sand. I literally created this meditation, peaceful place in my head, just like that, and I know it's a little out there, but it's my happy place.
No, I love it. I'm kind of giggling because Linda said I thought we would have flying cars by now. That's why I was giggling.
I'm telling you, I want the tennis shoes from Back to the Future from Michael J. Fox, because
Right?
they're like a speedy representation to get me there. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. Hi, JR.
Hello.
There's so many lovely people here. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for supporting Hershey.
Thank you.
She is making the round. She is just starting her channel, and she's just sort of getting her feet wet. Here is her link again in the chat box. So we are here for yet again another segment, we'll call it, of Achieving Wellness. And Achieving Wellness started when I started my channel. It really started as a series, and then it just sort of developed from there, and it became like a once every couple of weeks or once a month thing, where we pick topics that we think are important based on, you know, a suggestion that someone has, or maybe just a theme that seems to be occurring. And I did shadow work as a topic way in the beginning of the channel. So I'm glad that you're here to break it down for us again. And I thought what we would do to start is to ask the question to the people in the chat to get their idea of what they think shadow work's benefit is.
Okay, great. Good question.
So if you all could share, I mean, if you feel like sharing, what do you think the benefit of shadow work would be? And once we get some, I want to throw them up on the screen, and then we'll get started. And we're going to put Miss Hershey in the hot seat and give her the floor. spotlight is on you, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
What?
For me, shadow work. So there was a little girl that she was misunderstood. She didn't know anything about being a girl. She didn't know anything about. She didn't know how to play right. You know, she didn't know how to love right. She didn't know what any of it looked like. So that girl grew into a treacherous teenager that just became self-destructive. And then that girl turned into a young adult that was sitting in prison and had no hope. I literally had no care. I don't know, I was dead. I was numb, dead. So I found this book in the prison library one day, and it was all about somebody throwing their trash away. And it was a little bitty book that wasn't very big. It looked like something like a little psychologist would carry in their inside jacket pocket or something. And it had all these definitions, but they weren't definitions like like a Webster's dictionary. They were more about like king baby and a manipulator and a miser and a con artist and an antagonist. And I found that all of these words was me in some wild, crazy, twisted way. This book found me, and it literally checked my drawers. I mean, it opened up parts of me that I had no choice but to just rip myself apart. But in all of that, I started finding these little pieces of hope that were there the whole time. I just didn't see them. I didn't want to see them. I acted like they didn't exist. It wasn't possible. But I slowly started realizing that in life itself, you cannot have a negative without a positive, and you can't really have a positive without a negative. You know, it's like having the perfect wave. It didn't come with a whole lot of wind forcements and gravity pushing against it. There was a whole lot that created that perfect wave. And I rode that as I healed, because I didn't want to get sunk back into it and go back into them duck roll barrels and almost drowning again. So I found a way to stay above it. And I literally have fallen off, I don't know how many times since then, but I literally climb that ladder and I pull myself right back up to the top of that wave. And I fight gravity, I fight balance, I fight air itself, whatever it is, but I do my best to stay on top of it, and I find the positive first and then dive in and deconstruct it and put it back together the way I need it to be fixed, to be healed.
So, lots of lovely comments in the chat that I just want to share with you. So we've got Linda saying, it's freedom from the guilt about hiding unpleasant things from ourselves.
Absolutely.
Which I love. Yep. Samantha said, lightness, joy, and loving myself, all of me, unconditional.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Cheyenne says, an integration of all polarities of self-order to balance your mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely.
Ben said, I think shadow work is facing aspects of ourselves that we sometimes struggle with, but working with it is a way to understand ourselves better.
Yes.
For me specifically, shadow work is sort of a combination of what Ben said and what Linda said. It was like a validation almost of things that I already knew about myself, but prior to the shadow work, they were like shamed or judged. And on the other side of it, I was able to sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I was able to realize that it is just another part of me. And if I was able to implement some of my CBE training or my CBT training that I could, cognitive behavioral therapy training, I could find a way to make that a positive as opposed to a negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I needed it to be sort of told to me in a way that didn't make me feel less than. It was just another part of me.
Right.
Just thought I would mention. Now, how did you? Okay, Quincy, you're really starting to get on Mommy's every last nerve, darling. Yeah, I have a Kleenex in my hand, and he's trying to eat the Kleenex, and he's trying to play with my crystals. How did you get into doing shadow work with cards? Like, was that something that was a natural sort of progression for you? Was that a natural step, or did you explain that if you could, how that sort of happened? Because, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, because I think that there are lots of ways to accomplish shadow work. There are lots of different avenues and windows into shadow work. Using cards is
they're just a tool. Yeah.
Well, it's a great way to sort of point you in a direction. So if you just you got stuff, for example, you've got stuff, and you are wanting to start to work on said stuff, but you're not really sure how to go about it. If you're right in that, I think it's this, but maybe it's that. Cards are a great way to sort of pinpoint or at least put you in a particular area. I think that's just my opinion.
No. You're not actually that far off. Well, for me, you're not. I've always used different divination tools, and with my spiritual journey up until 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't offering excuse me, I wasn't offering a listening ear to other people's trauma and shadow. I wasn't. I was spiritually in another direction. I was working strictly with ghosts, strictly with my guides, and I was using divination tools that worked with other realms, the ghost tools, to help get them crossed over or wherever they needed to be, or lifted from whatever was going on in that situation. 4 or 5 years ago, like I said, my TT and a couple other people started telling me, like, Hershey, you're literally a tarot deck. Like, your story is a tarot deck. You need to tell your story through a tarot deck. And I'm like, that's not possible. That was like the wildest shit. I didn't even say that. That was the wildest thing that it was unheard of. Like, there's no way but I trusted the process, and I picked up a deck, and outside an oracle deck, I was lost. I knew what oracle decks was my whole life pretty much, but I was lost to a tarot deck. I just started. I opened a book and found the structure, and I found the way that it went, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, and I found a way to tell my story through the cards in a way that
it's like Mutual Omaha over here. Sorry,
other people, huh?
I said it's like the Mutual of Omaha over here with the Wild Animal Kingdom.
It's okay. It made me, the more I worked with them throughout these last 4 or 5 years, it's made me want to open up to more people and hear other people's and see how much in common there actually is out there, and where everybody thinks it's negative. It's really not. It's not. It's just a whole lot of open space that's waiting on somebody to give it acknowledgement and fill the space with something better.
Right. Somebody was supposed to be watching the dog, and the dog showed up.
It's like, okay. Oh. It's okay.
Okay. So when you first sat down to have the experience of sort of recognizing a shadow, did you immediately know in that moment that this was a way to find a path forward?
I didn't know what I was seeing. I knew what, the six of this meant or the nine of this meant. I knew what blah 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 blah, but like the basics, the keywords, the structure of it.
Right.
But I wasn't seeing that when I would connect. Like if I was just reading, I was just reading, playing, having fun,
Right.
But when I was connected, that wasn't what I was seeing. I was seeing stuff, and people were saying, "How are you seeing that? What? How did you know that? Somebody must have told you that." Blah 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 blah. Blah. And I'm like, yeah, somebody told me, but you're not going to believe me who told me, And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, blah. And I try to explain it to them. And then a few people that have been reading cards for years said, just read for me one time. And I connected. I did my little thing I do with my deck. And they said, you're a shadow reader. And I said, what is that? And they gave me this like thing on it, like the different types of levels, of what I'm capable of actually seeing. And I'm like, yeah, I do see some pretty stuff, and I don't speak on it, but I am capable of going pretty dark with the shadows.
Right.
If you're a pretty dark person, my shadows are going to cling to that. And
right.
I would never, ever carry that out. I have a vow with the universe that it stays between me and the person, but I don't know how to explain it. The structure of the tarot cards disappear, and what they want me to see is what I see.
But that's perfect though, really, when you think about it, because the tarot deck is a tool. You are the gift.
To me, it is, yes. And that's why I do prefer the darker ones, because what I see helps them visually see what I'm seeing as well.
Yeah, gotcha.
And not in a scary way. I do my best to get a deck that's appropriate to what they can handle. Not everybody can handle the Marielle or the El Goliath, but they can handle, different decks, different levels of, shadow. Right. So, I've got a lot of different varieties that I work with. Right now, I'm very short with my choices, but for the most part, once I'm set up and ready to go, you'll have an option to pick the deck that feels most drawn to you for your connected shadow read.
Awesome. By the way, if you guys have any questions, and when I say questions, I mean questions about shadow reading as a topic or as a process, not like an actual shadow reading question, do throw it in the chat. We're open to helping. I mean, this is a learning discussion, right? We want to make sure that people understand what shadow reading is, what it can do for you, how it can help in terms of unburdening yourself, or just owning it. Sometimes because everyone's shadow is different, and sometimes all you need to do is just own it. And I'll use myself as an example. So when I was first diagnosed with anxiety panic disorder, I was told by many a therapist, not just one, that your issue is with control. And because I was in that space of being completely shut down and closed off, I heard I'm a control freak. And I didn't like that very much. I don't know anybody who really wants to own that they're a control freak, because it sounds very,
controlling,
nasty, negative, right? Like mean-spirited. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to be that person. So when I was told that I was, basically a control freak, I turned myself off. I stopped listening. And it wasn't till much later on that it was explained to me that the fear superseded my desires to be able to let things just happen organically or naturally. And so I would try to then step in and control a situation so that I had some hand on where we were navigating and potentially even the outcome. And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't sound so bad. So when it was explained to me and I was ready to receive the information, it seemed this is piece of cake. I can do this, no problem, right? So when I had a shadow reading done, which wasn't an in-depth shadow reading, to be perfectly fair, but it was enough that it came out. I mean, first card out of the deck, Emperor, boom. I'm like, look at me, I showed up. How nice. Somehow I didn't take it as a negative. Somehow I didn't take it as a criticism. We all know that, or for those of us that have gone through past pains, past traumas, having to release stuff, that we usually come from a place of shame and blame and judgment. Whether it's us doing it to ourselves or others have cast that upon us. And there was something very uplifting and very positive to me when that reading came out and showed me what I was already told and took it in a negative way. Now it was being presented to me in a way like, here it is, and here's some stuff that you can do to help you navigate still with that intent, but in a much more beneficial way. And I was like, oh, now I can own this as a part of me and not feel bad about it. And I love that about the shadow work.
It's very organically healing. Yes.
Yeah, like it made me feel whole again, like, and I say here often on the channel, like I'm using myself as an example. My anxiety doesn't define me. I am not anxiety. I'm Kelly, who has anxiety. It's a part of me. It doesn't define me. And I think that if we can understand that is a great first step to being able to understand that you have the ability to work through this stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely.
In the right way. And so I want us to really focus in on how can shadow work, not for the whole time, but for the next little bit. I want us to focus, or you to focus specifically, on how shadow work can be used to benefit people. Like, what are some of the things that people could expect from a shadow reading? Not necessarily to uncover, but in terms of just highlighting how the journey, I guess, really is what I'm talking about, the journey.
So I'm not here to be gentle with people. That's not my calling.
Right.
People will find me when they're really ready. And I know that that's going to sound harsh to a lot of people, but if you're not really ready to literally completely rip yourself apart and put yourself back together so that you can find joy, happiness, hope, laughter. Oh my God, that is the very first thing I beg and wait and hope and push for is laughter. It automatically starts healing something inside of you, and
Right.
It's not necessarily even in your soul. It hasn't got there yet, but it's in your feet. It's in your roots. It starts at the bottom, and it just starts this tingling, waking up sensation. But it's not a waking up to the universe or another dimension. It's waking up to yourself. It's finding out that you don't have a clue who you really are, and you are literally about to dive into this amazing adventure, and that's how you have to see it. And no matter how many primal releases it takes, no matter how many let goes and fall downs, and pick yourselves back up and write it back down, or go outside and burn it up, or go to a river and throw rocks in the river, whatever you have to do, it's worth every single step. There is a part of you inside of you that is dying to come out and be seen, heard, felt, loved, touched, have some kind of fellowship with something that is able to give back what they want to give and receive, and it's beautiful. And when you're ready for that, that's when you're ready to find the drill sergeant of your choice and just literally become a whole new person, start shedding all that layers and layers and layers of forced thoughts from somebody else, and find out that you never liked McDonald's to begin with. The fries were too greasy. You always did it because it was what somebody else put in your head. It's of course a metaphor to what I'm saying, but that's part of it.
No, but it's the truth. I mean, that's
to make it consistent. And that's another thing, is you have to be consistent. And your first step, just like any NA or AA or any other program, that's how you need to look at it, is a program. And when you work with me, we set up an agenda, we set up a schedule, we set up weekly meetings. I expect homework, I give challenges. I am not easy. I am the drill sergeant that you just didn't want until you graduated and you couldn't believe that you met you along the way.
Right.
All I want to do is just support people. I'm a little heavy-handed, but I'm the reason that hope and light and all of this is possible, because there is something better on the other side of it.
Right. I think that if you're going to consider working with your shadow, that one of the things that you should ask yourself, and I'm going to ask you what you think of this, but I think that one of the things that one would ask themselves, like, so I'm a person, I'm listening to this program, and I'm like, you know what, I got some stuff. I mean, friends, we all know I do, right? I got some stuff. And so maybe I'm going to consider asking Hershey to, have a conversation about me doing some shadow work. So what's the one thing that I need to bring to the table? I think you need to be open.
Your subconscious and a willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah. See, well, that's because you do the readings. At me as the person, I think I need to just be open. I need to be open to the possibilities. I need to be open to things that, and I mean, really, it's no different than any other reading. When you are in the position of, I don't know anything, right? You follow me? You come into a chat, you book a reading with a reader or whatever the case may be, and you have to be open, meaning you don't have any preconceived notions as to what you think is going to happen. You don't have any preconceived outcomes as to what you expect to happen, and that you are really listening with the information that's being given to you, right? You're hearing it, you're listening to it, you're writing it down, because what you want is when you go home to read it over and go, oh, that's what she was talking about. You know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. That's a good one. Intuitive Ella, by the way, hello, says honesty too. So many of us lie to ourselves. In my personal case, I was, I don't know that I would say that I lied to myself. I just assumed I was oblivious because I've been this way like my whole life. So I wasn't really aware, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, this is just what I do. Now all of a sudden someone's telling me that I'm doing it wrong. And I'm like, what? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think that's what she meant. I could be wrong here, but I think what she's saying is they're lying to their self about.
No. I knew what she meant. I'm saying
like there is ownership. You were not innocent in it. Now I am not talking about, and I mean this very lightly, but there's some of us that traumas go deeper than mud, and that's
absolutely.
There are those that had loving parents and a good family and green acres, so to speak. I swear I mean that in a good way. It's just a metaphor for me to let me know that, okay, you really didn't have it that bad. So you got into it with your sisters and brothers. You don't really have trauma. You've got present day whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But then there's those that have real life in there because life is just, and then there's something that happened here or something that happened. Those are very valid traumatic situations that have ownership.
100%.
What I'm saying is I think what she's saying is the ones that actually can't relate. They can't relate. They're literally not being a hypochondriac, but they're jumping on a bandwagon that they can't relate to, and they shouldn't be in that place. And they're lying not only to themselves about what they're capable of, but they're also lying to the person that they may or may not be trying to get help from.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
they're deceiving. The lie isn't just to their self. It's about their recovery, what they've been through, what they've experienced, what
100%.
they haven't experienced. You know, there's levels to it, and that's what I mean. I'm very in tune, and when people come to me and they're trying to blow smoke up my yoo-hoo, my guides ain't going for it. They're like,
right.
This person, man, the worst that's ever happened to them is somebody bully knocked their ice cream out of their hand. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they need to go 3 doors down. I'm not the one for them. You know, I think that's kind of maybe where she was going, you know, about lying to their self about their level of it.
Right. Hi, Ellen. No, we're actually, well, we're talking about shadow work.
And if I'm wrong,
no. Listen, there are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers, right? That is a great point that you make. And it's a great point that Intuitive Ella made. We oftentimes, I mean, and then there are some people that don't even know that they have a problem because that's what you do.
Their whole life.
I mean? You pack it down and you just go about your business, and that's me.
Yep.
I didn't know that I had trauma.
Yep. No,
I wasn't aware. I didn't know that it was a thing.
Right. Some people don't. Some people don't. They don't even realize what is trauma or a shadow. And then once, you know, they see that, oh, well, I can relate to that, or I can relate to that, and I had this feeling and I had that feeling, or guilt is one of the biggest ones. Anger is just barely above guilt, but they're kind of neck and neck there because there's so many curvy off-road beaten paths to guilt and same with anger. You know, there's more room for negativity in them areas than there is positive, and it's much harder to find them. But I'm telling you, if you're willing and you're able and you can literally put yourself in that subconscious mind of where you were in that situation that's still hurting you, but you have to be able to be still. You have to look around at everything in the room, the moment. What were you feeling? What was the color you see? What do you taste? What do you smell? What were you? You know, were you truly the victim here? Were you instigating it? You know what I'm saying? That's why I want the subconscious. I know that some people say, well, you can't activate that. Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
You know, 100%.
Lisa, that's the first part, is realizing that if you're willing to bring me your subconscious, I will help you pull that stuff off the back burner and let's work on it. There's a million trees out there, so that means there's a million ways to figure out how to find ways to heal.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Every take. Yep.
100%. Lisa says, we're getting lots of people putting great stuff in the chat, so we'll just sort of like ping pong off of that. Lisa says, what if you blocked out a big chunk of your life? That's exactly what Hershey was just talking about, right? Like you can put she can ask you to drop to your subconscious level and put yourself in a room and sort of guide you and help you rediscover that moment or that time.
Just like people do guided meditations.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional, guys. I'm strictly listening to the energy. I'm looking at the color of you because I'm going to see you in a color. Once you get to your subconscious level, I'm going to know by the color of your subconscious, the levels of your trauma. I am literally the safe place for you to let go. And my contract and my vow to keep you there is that's my calling is to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how nasty you look when you cry, because I'm gonna be sitting right there with you crying about it, helping you. We're gonna put a whole puzzle back together with unbroken pieces, and we're gonna start with the border, and then we're just gonna work our way in. And by the time that puzzle is there, so is a whole new person.
Absolutely. Thomas says he ate his feelings for years, 305 pounds, now at 150-ish. There are so many things that we do to ourselves to continue that sort of, make-believe magical safety bubble that we create, right? Me with locking myself in the house, Thomas with the eating.
I know cutters and stuff.
Yeah, I just want to make a point of saying that, even like, I don't even want to say it, but I have to say it for the channel. This is for entertainment purposes only. And, if you feel lost, if you feel confused, if you feel emotionally not well or emotionally, unbalanced, you should most definitely consult with a medical professional.
Absolutely.
First and foremost before you do anything else.
Absolutely.
What we're talking about here is a tool that you can have at your disposal to use to not only bring it to the surface, but then be able to sort through it and then come out on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I'm not going to open the doors of hell and push you through it and say you're on your own. That's not who I am.
No, of course
that's not who I am. That's how I learned, though. I didn't have somebody guiding me and pushing me to go. No, you can't stop. If you do it right now, you're going to come to this spot every time. This is not a save mode. This is not where we start over at every time. I'm going to be pushing you. Right. So I'm not intentionally hurting the subconscious part of you. I'm simply trying to make it balance out to where you have just as much control over what affects you and what gives you power and strength and your own tools. Because that's what I am. I'm a tool, and I expect you to look at me as that and get it out, work it out. Because then they're done that. So.
Ellen says trauma and its effects are very real. Like Kelly, I just shut down my emotions to get through the trauma. And I think that is a very sort of common response. You hear that a lot in terms of people will say, like, I don't remember anything from my childhood, or, they block a particular whole time frame out. Because it's just easier to erase it than it is to deal with it. And when I say erase it, I mean not allow it to be something that is like, constantly knocking on the side of your head going, hey, we didn't deal with that.
Right. No, I absolutely know what you mean. And I would say to that they are somewhere in the early 2000s. I met a man working at as a bartender down at the Lake of the Ozarks. And he always used to say, you dropped your pocket. And people would fall for it. They're instantly looking down. And somehow in my head, I took that to mean that he was reading into more than what I was catching. You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally know what you mean.
Every time he would sense this about somebody, somewhere within, if it wasn't that night, within that week, as the bartender, everybody wants to come up and talk to the bartender, and they're going to drop a gazillion war stories on us or emotions. And, because we're a fantasy for them. You know what I mean? We're somebody they can talk to, and we're available, we listen. And, like, there would be like an amazing amount of emotions that they have stuffed in their pockets. And that man was sensing it, and he would tap them. You dropped your pocket. He was letting them know you're letting it go. Let it go. Drop your pockets. Get rid of them. Buy pants that don't have pockets. Buy shorts. Drop your pockets. If you don't have pockets, you can't put your emotions in there anymore. I love meeting people like that because they're so easy to forget. They start forgetting that they've got pockets. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
They put them up here, put it
yeah,
up
because
here.
like
You
that's
know,
the
let's get it
beautiful
all.
part about it. When you think about a person that's been walking around for, you know, X number of years, 10
However
years,
long,
20
right?
years,
Yep.
30 years, whatever. Whether you
Hmm.
are aware that you're carrying the baggage or you're not aware that you're carrying a certain amount of baggage, or if you are oblivious to the baggage that you're carrying, because I think there's different levels, right? The
Absolutely.
fact that you can walk up to someone or, meet someone or be in their presence and they can sense
Hmm.
that you need assistance and
Yep.
be able to provide you with a little, it's like a window just opening just a little bit
Yep.
and
I'm just a
letting you
little
see
crack.
the light.
Yep.
It is,
Yep.
I've said here many times, this always makes me emotional because it is just such it's such a difficult thing to explain. And every time I say it, I feel like I sound like I'm trying to, play to the masses, but I don't know how else to articulate it.
Hmm.
I sit here and I have honestly witnessed different levels of healing so many times. I have witnessed when someone just finally starts to open up for the first time, like just a little bit. I have
Hmm.
witnessed when I know I can feel it when they have like, oh my God, that's it.
The aha.
And we have several ahas, but and when someone reaches up and says to another person, I know exactly how you feel. And then that person starts to open up.
Hmm.
So many different things that I have witnessed sitting here, whether it be, face to face or here in the chat. I've witnessed healing literally happening before my eyes. And it is a breathtaking miracle, really. And I don't know how else to say it, but that doesn't even seem like it does it enough justice, but I hope you all get what I mean. The point that I'm trying to make is, and we say things like this all the time: when it is meant to happen, it will.
Yep. And the universe
You
tells
have
me.
to believe that in a moment like that you're describing, where you met this person and they just did that to another person.
Yep.
You were meant to see that. You were meant to be there in that moment so that you could then take that and be like, you know what? I can help with.
Recognize that. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Validating what you can do, and
Yeah.
then allowing you to see that it's okay to do for others, that this is actually a thing that other people might be able to benefit from.
And then
It's
also
such an
being
amazing
there with
thing.
the follow through too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally hot now. Ooh. Okay, so Intuitive Ella says that Hershey helped me a great deal with my childhood trauma. She still does, which is wonderful. And blessings to Hershey for that, and blessings to Intuitive Ella for sharing.
Thank you.
Lisa says, no, I can remember things, but blocked out a lot of my childhood years. I suppressed, but I have no recall. Like I was 5 one day and then 16 the next. I want to just say, I think that this is important. I don't want anyone to walk away from this conversation and think that if you can't remember, Thursday, June 5th of 1972, that means that you got trauma. Y'all know the
You
story
went kind of
about
where you're at.
my next door neighbor. Literally, like that's not a joke. My next door neighbor moved in 2 years ago and told my husband in conversation where she came from, and he said, oh, that's where my wife is from. And she said, oh, that's funny, what's her name? And blah blah blah. Anyways, we went to kindergarten together, and grade 1. And so my husband came home and said, oh my God, you went to kindergarten, she remembers you. And I'm like, give me a break, that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since then, she has sent a picture home with my husband to show me, to prove that we were in the same school in the same class. And I'm like, yep, there I am. Since then, I've gone and I've met her. I don't recognize her at all. I have no idea who she is. But she knows me. And you know why she knows me? This is what she said. Because I was like, girl, what is wrong with my memory? Like I've been told I have memory like an elephant. I remember stupid facts though, But anyway, I was going off on a tangent. I'll stay on track, I promise. So I said to her, I said, like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, rude. I don't remember. And she said, that's okay. She said, the reason that I remember you is because she had an English accent and she was bullied. And I was one of the few people that was nice to her. And she said, so I always remembered your name. Like,
That's beautiful.
You're my new
That's
bestie.
beautiful.
I love it. But I mean, the point is that you block out stuff. I didn't have any childhood trauma, but I just, I got other stuff. So I'm not remembering. So just wanted to say that. Eleanor says, looking for safety. Yes, I remember my goal was to get out of my family house as soon as I could. Terry Way says, self-sabotage is very real and very damaging. Seek professional help along with honest evaluation in seeking shadow work. Lots of years of tears. Yeah, we can beat ourselves up so. I mean, listen, I always used to say to some of my friends that were trying to help me in my early parts of my anxiety before I was diagnosed and when I was first diagnosed, I would say to them, like, there's nothing that you're going to say to me, try to do to myself, in terms of, sorting myself out. So, when people would say like, oh, you just need to relax and, you need to step it up and, it's like, okay, all right, I'm hearing this. Like, I'm not,
The Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Yep.
Samantha says, I made myself small, almost invisible. I allowed others to treat me this way. Since working on my shadow, loving myself, I had to cut lots of people out. I realized they like taking my power.
Oh, yeah, the legal love taking people's kindness for weakness all the time.
I, to that point that Samantha makes, I was, and I say it in that way, I was accused my entire life of looking at the world through rose-colored glasses as if I was naive. And in fact, sometimes that would then proceed with the word naive, that I was immature because I did not see the world for the big bad wolf that it was. And I now realize that it is not a bad thing. And I actually now sit on the other side with a different understanding and think to myself, no, I refuse to do that. And the reason I refuse to do that is because I really do believe that there are good things out there, that there are good people out there, that there are reasons to be joyful and happy. I refuse to see it dark. And now I just send those people a lot of love because I can't imagine navigating my life thinking that, like, everything was out to get me kind of attitude. And yet my entire life, it's like, oh, well, you just look at the world through rose-colored glasses. So, like, what do you know? And it's like,
yep, no, I understand that.
People can shape our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our opinions, our environment can, situations can. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Terry Way says, such a breakthrough when you meet yourself for the first time. Then you have to forgive yourself for putting things off so long. Absolutely. Kindness and Light says, yes, I had a major PTSD attack this weekend. I had to ground big time. Aw. Now, when you say that, so a PTSD, sorry, Jesus, I can't, sorry.
We do. We got it. We got it.
SD attack. So when you say that, Lisa, if you don't mind sharing, and you don't have to, so don't feel I shouldn't put you on the spot like that. But I'm just curious, is that like an anxiety attack? Is that a panic attack? Or is that like an emotional sort of breakdown in terms of, like maybe you're tired or you need to lay down or you feel weak or like I'm not, what do you mean by that? I don't, PTSD attack is not a term that I'm familiar with. And and that's an interesting point, not to digress from what we're talking about, but an anxiety attack and a panic attack are very different. And I would think that a PTSD attack would also then be different. You know what I mean?
I guess I know only one form of, well, maybe two forms of PTSD, and my brother suffers from severe PTSD. He's a soldier. He is a honorable discharge vet now, and fireworks, loud sounds.
Yeah.
They send him to a place that he's not here, and
yeah. I mean, literally, that's what
Lisa. Line of fire. It doesn't matter if it's me, my kids, his kids. He does not understand that.
Yeah, well, that's what Lisa's saying. And no, I had a flashback, and then it's all post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right. My brother is. It's very hard to bring him back to.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if it was right now, it's Michael. It's June 28, 2023. It is not blah blah blah. Yes. 1990 whatever. You're not in Kosovo. You're not in Baghdad. You're not there. You're here.
Yeah. So Lisa is basically explaining what you're explaining that your brother experiences.
Okay.
Which is very different from a panic attack. So I'm glad that I asked the question.
I know one version. Like now, medical wise, like fireworks, shit like that. I mean, stuff like that will do things to my brain, but my brain's got a lot of metal, and there's a lot of things going on where pitches, light, sounds, they send me into like seizure activity.
I was just gonna say that's more seizure.
Like I have Tourette's or something sometimes. Mm-hmm. My body discontorts. So, but they claim that is a PTSD. My neuro thingy is misfiring. So I guess that's what I said. I guess I know maybe two forms of PTSD. I know this kind and then this kind.
And I just want to say that, I mean, this is just my opinion. This isn't based on fact, so take this with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought or my theory is that when you experience these types of, I don't want to say this word.
Say it.
But like side effect of whatever it is, because I mean, it seems so like a PTSD attack does not seem like it warrants a side effect. You know what I mean? It seems like it should be much bigger, but you know what I'm getting at.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
When those things happen to you,
mm-hmm.
It is the scariest feeling in the world, because you literally, I mean, for panic attacks and anxiety attacks, I've had both. You feel like you're going to die. You feel like you're having a heart attack.
Yes.
And so I can't imagine having that feeling and also being thrust back into an alternate reality from a previous time period.
Yes.
Where I didn't know where I was.
Yep.
Immediately. Do you know what I mean? Like that seems like, oh my God. So we have to remember when we're dealing with these things, right? Whatever your thing is, or maybe you have someone that you love that is dealing with these things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you came today and you're listening to Hershey talk and thinking, you know what, maybe shadow work would help my friend or my significant other, or maybe it'll help me.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that you have to be ready.
I just want to reiterate, like I do kind of like an assessment before I dive into someone's life, and if they're not ready for me, I literally am honest with them, and I tell them, you need a feather. I'm not a feather, and I hope that they don't think that I'm making theirs light. I'm just not, if you don't need a special neurosurgeon, you don't get one. You know what I'm saying? You get a neurologist.
Yeah.
I hope that, that's not sounding harsh, but that's what I mean when I say there's so many levels. This isn't something I woke up and said, oh, I'm just going to go below the mud and do it. Literally, that's been my whole life experience. So I'm coming from a place of knowledge
and
some books are, but for the most part, life.
Yeah. You're coming from life experience and understanding for sure.
Absolutely.
I guess where I was trying to go with that is I just, and I'm glad that you said that you sort of give an assessment. And so, meaning you don't just take anyone. Right. And I want people to understand that you have to be open to want to rip yourself open. Right.
Right. Because I'm not the one doing it. Ultimately, you are. You're going to be the one that's going to do all the work.
And there's also no shade or shame or blame if you are not in that position, if you are not in that spot.
That's right.
I say
that's a beautiful thing.
More than I say anything else on this channel. And if you hear nothing else tonight, hear this. One day you will be ready. But until the time that you are ready, that's why I'm here. Not saying that I am the only person in the world, but that's why I am here. That's why I started this channel. I am here to help to the best of my ability so that at least, if nothing else, you feel like you're not alone until you reach the point in time when you're like, you know what, I'm ready. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 months, it could be 5 days, it could be 5 hours, 5 years, whatever.
Right.
Don't get so far ahead of yourself like, oh, this is exactly what I need, but then not be open, because then you're almost setting yourself up for failure before you've even given it a start. So if you
absolutely are,
right? So if you're interested in getting a shadow reading from you, how do they go about it? What is the process like? They contact you through email, through Facebook? What do they do? Or you
they on my channel, Hershey the Shadow Reader, in my about, there is a section where you can email me directly. There is a platform on Facebook called Shadow Reach from a Gemini. You can literally join the group, and the admins will assess you and see where you're at. And if you're not quite ready for me, then they encourage you to stay in the group, start reaching out to other people, and just opening up, talking positivity. How did you heal from this? Where did you go? So there's many ways to get a hold of me, but Facebook and YouTube through my email is the fastest.
Awesome. So, do you have anything that you think that you would like to leave us with? Any final thoughts about what, like, I don't know, something that somebody needs to know about shadow work that we didn't cover, something that's important to you, just about how you think this went, whatever parting thoughts you have?
So I don't have anything ever set in stone. I just go with what feels like needs to be said. And what I want to say to anybody that hears this, you're worth it. You're worth it no matter what level you are at. If you are a brand new player and it's a brand new game and you've never played it before a day in your life, you're never going to advance if you don't, get the controller out, learn the buttons. You know what I'm saying? You're worth it. So find a way to get to know the real you any way you can in a safe environment.
Absolutely. And it's totally okay whether you dive right in or you take baby steps, because there's lots of tools.
Oh yeah, tiptoe. I recommend tiptoeing.
Yeah, there's lots of,
unless you're pure chaos like me and you're just gonna dive right in, please tiptoe. Please tiptoe.
And I mean, like, dipping your toe in the water is totally okay. There's lots of resources out there to help us, and there's lots of people to
That's right.
Embrace you as you navigate that journey. So
that's right.
Hershey, thank you so much for coming and for hanging out with us and for talking about this. It's so important that people understand that there is that there's a way forward, you know, that it doesn't have to be so difficult and challenging.
Yeah. There's people out there just like them, meaning me, that's been through craziness, and I just want to talk about it. I don't get paid for it. I don't. If you know you want to donate or whatever, that's one thing. But I give my gift away, and I listen, I relate, I talk, I find the positive.
You and I share that in common. You don't want to see people suffer the way that you did, and you want to offer people the ability to be, you know, to experience.
And I have many gifts. Yep, and I have many gifts, and I may be able to help people in ways beyond Shadow. So, and like I said, you know this personally about me, but that's stuff that I don't open up with until they're ready to open up. You know, it's kind of like, you know, you give and I give. You know, I'm going to scratch your back, you're going to scratch mine. So I'm going to heal right along with you in a way that I didn't know I needed it either.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's amazing that that you are so willing to open yourself up and expose yourself in such a vulnerable way, and that you're so trusting that you're able to do that to help other people. That's really remarkable, and I commend you for it. I know just the little bit that I share here, it's not easy. So
no,
yours is a whole other level, and from me to you, I commend you, because I know it's not easy, but
thank you.
I'm very proud of what you're doing, and what I hope to see for your future. If you know, continuing along this path, you're doing a huge service to humanity, and you know, my hat goes off to you. I just think it's remarkable. So please, everybody, do go check out Hershey's channel. Her description is in the box below the video, and of course, we've had it in the chat several times. I thank you so much, my friend. It's been a great chat, and
you can cross my path anytime, Black Kitty.
I mean, yeah. Quincy's like, okay, it's over. I'm gone now. He's literally been sitting in front of me the entire time, and now that I'm saying goodbye, he's like, yep, I'm leaving.
Yep, time to go.
All right, friends, we will leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us and for chatting with us. And we're just over an hour. I need to go eat my dinner. So with that being said, I'm going to say goodnight. We'll see you when we see you next, and we wish you many blessings. Bye, everybody.
Until next time. Bye, guys.